Yo, YouTube, what's going on, boys? So, we're back with another video. So, recently, I've been playing a lot of Apex Ranked and kind of going through the ups and downs of playing Apex Ranked, specifically solo queue, but I've also played with different teams here and there. And this is just to name a few, but I think for me, these are some of the most important things I think that stand out in terms of players, player improvement, right? Recently, I've been playing with uh, different friends. I've been playing with different randoms, and these are kind of maybe some of the things that I noticed that can really keep a lot of players, specifically who, this might sound a little bit mean, but specifically guys who don't necessarily belong to be in diamond, but really need to be in platinum, right? Reason why I say that, it's not to be condescending or woe is me or, I'm better than them, but it's more so from a fact of I look at the ranks as platforms to kind of showcase where you should be, right? Obviously, we know that the Apex rank system doesn't necessarily reflect that properly, but if I were to look at it from my own personal perspective here, from playing the game since the beginning, and seeing every iteration of ranked, guys who usually go from platinum to diamond, who haven't put in a lot of time and effort and work and practice and purposeful dedication to learning the game the right way, don't belong necessarily in diamond, right? Because to me, platinum should be the platform where you use it to learn and practice as much as you can, and then that transition to diamond you're ready for, right? Because a lot of those guys in diamond, they're going for masters and pred, because in diamond lobbies, you're losing a lot more. The quality of games has to be better, and you usually want to win more than you lose, right? In platinum, you can get away with losing a couple, right? You can get one big win and kind of regain all that back and some. So what makes a lot of diamond players make a lot of mistakes? Like, what is it that causes a lot of diamond players and maybe a lot of the diamond lobby experience to not be as fulfilling as it should be? So we're going to kind of just talk about some things that maybe that I've seen, and kind of thought over for some time now. So this is in no particular order, but let's just kind of talk about the first point here, right? So first point, number one, spends too much time looking versus moving and cutting that distance between when you see an enemy and you guys are both engaging in gunfights or in fire, to when you get to maybe wherever their positioning is, right? One thing I've noticed that a lot of players tend to do, because they just don't know how to do it the right way, and they're not seeing the map in a certain way, which is cutting the distance, right? You will hear this in sports. You'll hear this in military talk, where it's shoot, move, and communicate, right? So one thing I find a lot of players do is they spend a lot of time trying to shoot from a distance, and they spend so much time getting fixated on looking at an opponent for a very long time, and there's never barely any movement going forward towards the team. Um, if they're staring for a long period of time shooting at a team, and they're trying to then say, okay, now I want to move, right? But they take a lot of damage. Now that keeps them back behind their teammates that may be pushing up, right? So it just wastes more time, right? And the more time you're wasting, the more shots that are being fired off. Other teams in the distance can hear that and say, let's go over in that direction. And if that is a team that's not afraid to fight and get close, you're dead, right? Because now you're third partied. So how do we fix this, right? So one of the things that I've tried to tell a lot of guys is utilize cover and utilize being able to see from a distance what's going on if you can. If the enemy cannot see you, like if you can't see the enemy from a distance, but you're trying to maybe get a lot of shots off, that's your cue that you should move forward until they peek over heavier and can see you, right? If you can't see them and they're not really doing anything to you, but you're staring at them, that's your time to move, right? Cut that distance and go. Don't wait for them to peek over the top and look at you, right? That doesn't make any sense. Why am I going to wait for somebody to shoot me when I could just get in close when they're not looking, right? So that to me is number one. Number two, utilize cover, right? Don't make your path so straightforward. Don't just go straight in the open to make yourself an easy target. Utilize cover, right? That may mean you may have to take a route that might be a little bit longer, but at least you'll be able to get there safely, right? Depending on the map, if you're playing Olympus, you have a lot of terrain and a lot of structures within the open field to get to you certain spots. If you're playing a map like E-District, plenty of buildings to where you can kind of get in and get out. If you're playing a map like World's Edge, same thing, right? It's a combination of structures around the area in the open field mixed with buildings that you can play in, right? So, utilize those things. Don't just run straight out in the open thinking that, if they can't see me, I'm going to be okay, right? You always want to play smart in that way. So that's number one for me. Cut that distance, get there quick. Don't waste time. Now, the second thing, looting too much and wanting every attachment, which takes your focus off of your surroundings and the map. And it does show that you're overcompensating for bad gun skill, right? This is another huge one. So let's say, especially right now with the meta, right? Let's just take the meta right now, for instance. So the meta right now is like Loba as like a primary player. Why? Because she gets her ult almost instantly off the rip, right? Which means you're going to be able to get 2 guns and small heals and heals, and you're going to be able to get all the ammo you need, right? Might not be able to get the attachments that you need, but you will be able to get 2 guns and all the ammo that you possibly could want. What does that mean? That means you need to be able to do less or do more with less. The way that you practice and train in the firing range and your mindset should be able to control recoil with any gun, no matter what you have on it, right? I practice where I learn recoil patterns from close to long range with no attachments, and that takes a lot of time and effort. But that's what you need, right? And you need to be able to practice shooting your gun in almost every which way. So that's being able to track targets with ADSing only, being able to track targets with just straight hip fire, being able to track targets with a combination of aim and hip fire, right? And then being able to track targets in every different direction, whether that be, if they take a pad, they go from the bottom to the top over you, whether that be a player sliding directly into you, whether that be you shooting from up top to down low, right? Never really want to shoot from down low to up top, right? But you get my point. Um, when you know that you have enough loot and there's another team coming or another team in the area, sometimes it's best to not go directly for the boxes, and maybe you go and get a position where you can look around to see what's going on if a team is coming, right? Versus going straight for a box, right? The boxes are going to be there. They're not going anywhere. The loot's not going anywhere. You can always get that later, right? But when you go immediately for boxes, what's in front of your screen, right? The loot. If a guy comes, especially if you're a controller, you can't move. So if a team comes while you're looting, they shoot you, you're dead, right? On mouse and key, you got a little bit more freedom and liberty there, but still, you want to get your eyes from being down low, looking in the boxes, keep your awareness around you there, okay? So that's one problem that I see a lot of players in Diamond make. My third point would be a lack of confidence in one's ability to fight. So you're ditching teammates. This is something that I preach on so much. It is confidence. I preach on confidence in everything I do in life, right? So how do we get confidence, right? Like, what does that look like? How do you go about getting that? Confidence to me is one of those things where it's a little bit different in terms of how it looks for different people. So experience is a great way to get your confidence up, right? Put yourself in situations that require you to have to be more. Don't play everything safe, and don't be afraid to get out of your comfort zone, right? Um, Confidence to me, you build that through seeing yourself win, right? Seeing yourself succeed at one thing, two things, right? And that builds, right, to 10 things that you're, and more and more and more. So as long as you're putting in the work and the effort and the time, right? That plus putting yourself in situations that's going to challenge those things that you're working on, and then you might fail at them, and you might fail at them, and you might fail at them. But as long as you're putting in the work and the effort and the time, and you're putting yourself in situations to see if those things are gonna work, eventually they will. And then once they will, it unlocks in your mind mentally that, okay, you can do this, right? The hard work's starting to pay off, right? Some things you practice on doesn't pay off until like later in your time in gaming. And that's okay, right? Other things kind of come a little bit quicker, right? Like for me, when I first switched from controller to mouse and key a long time ago, one of the things that I knew was going to be a thing was a wall, right? Sometimes you're going to hit a wall when you're developing. And one of the things that I learned is that when you hit that wall, you have to keep going. And once you break through that threshold, everything else becomes so much easier. But I would have never got to that if I never put myself in situations that were hard and challenging. So confidence to me comes from that. Now I will say that this is far and in between when it comes to players, right? Some guys have an easier time at that than others. That's just how life goes. But you can get there, but you have to figure it out your own way, right? My fourth point would be overusing character abilities to overcompensate for bad gunplay. Now, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about when I say this. Guys who play Gibby, guys who play Bang, Caustic, guys who can really, fuse, guys who can really throw out damage with their abilities. They're in gunfights and soon as they aim in, they're not confident, right? As soon as they aim in at a target, they're not confident, and they get destroyed, right? Their first inclination is not, let me reload and try to like re-challenge him and heal. It's, let me throw my ult out, right? Let me throw my Q out. Because that's easier to do. It takes no skill, right? It's gonna do more damage than their gunplay can do, so it's easier to do, right? This causes a lot of problems because when you really need your abilities, you don't have them, right? You're playing late game and you panic and you throw out all of your abilities because, like I said, you panic and you don't have the confidence in your gun skill, right? Now, let's say you win that fight, but it's top 2 now. You don't have your abilities to use. You guys lose the game because your ult would have been great in this situation, or your Q would have been huge in this situation, but you don't have it. These are situations where you have to discipline yourself and get your ass in the firing range and learn to be better at your gun skill. Learn to not panic, learn to stay cool and calm, and just know that like your skills are going to take you further than using your character's abilities. Your character's abilities should only enhance who you are as a player. They should not make you, right? They shouldn't make you. Only enhance. So that's kind of what I see a lot. This is a huge one right here. I think the last one, guys, like I said, there's more, but keep the video not from being that long. The last one, in my opinion, would be not understanding that getting better doesn't mean becoming a pro player, but it does mean sacrifice, commitment, hard work, and looking at one's flaws and having a plan is required to go from diamond to a higher level. A lot of guys, man, because they don't want to get better, and getting better seems daunting, right? Because it is, right? It is a hard thing to do, to say, okay, I'm not good at these things, and it's a lot of, you know what I mean? And say, okay, I'm gonna make a plan to tackle all of these things. It's a lot for anybody, and I understand that, right? And like I said, some guys have an easier time grasping that, and some don't. A lot of guys try to put the excuse in there and say, well, I don't want to get that good, right? Getting better in diamond means I gotta become a pro player, right? Because they see a lot of the top guys who are pros, dominate in these lobbies, and they think that means becoming a pro player. And I'm here to tell you that it doesn't. But you do have to be better, right? You do have to be better. And being better may mean, yeah, you might have to be close to what a pro player skill set is, right? But the only difference between a pro player and a really good player in Apex who's not pro is they made a commitment to wanting to get paid doing that thing at a high level, right? And there's a lot more sacrifice that comes with being a pro, and a lot more time, right? But that doesn't mean that you can't put in the time and the effort to get better, right? So you have to take these restraints off of your mind mentally and understand that to get good at anything in life, you have to sacrifice. Whether that means, like, if you need an extra day to practice on your aim, right? But your boys want to go out, you got to say, listen, guys, like, I just can't. Like, I know what I need to do, and I just can't. This doesn't fit into what I'm trying to do, right? And they're going to look at you like, damn, but guess what? When you guys get on together and play, they're going to see the results. Or it's, hey, I know I got to do this in the afternoon, but I got some time in the morning, right? It might be a little bit hard to do, but I got time in the morning. You know what? 30 minutes to an hour in the morning, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go to AIM Labs. I'm going to train for that amount of time and just do some VOD reviews and kind of just figure out, what I need to continue to get better at, right? Tuesday, I was playing like this. Okay, did I see any improvement on Wednesday? Like, look at the VOD, right? Commitment. Commit to it. Understand that's going to be a process. It's not going to be overnight, right? You're going to have to go up and down with this thing. It's not going to be easy. You got to commit to it and understand that, right? And love that process. And it's just gonna take hard work, guys. Like, it's just going to. You can't skip that line. A lot of guys want to skip that line, but you can't do it. You just can't. Whether you're on controller or mouse and key, you just can't. And the last thing I'll say about this is be honest with yourself. Don't lie to yourself. Be extremely honest with yourself. Doesn't mean beat yourself up, but if you know that you have a hard time with X, Y, and Z, don't sugarcoat it and be like, oh well, but this, or oh well, but that. No, like, say what it really is to yourself, and don't allow yourself any leadway, because that is what's going to slow your progress down. So, guys, this is something really small, but it's something that I've been thinking about for a little while, and I just kind of wanted to get this out there for you guys. But I hope you guys enjoy this, and I hope this helps. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Peace.